Welcome to a quick little analysis of three really important elements in gameplay, in any game really that's made. So the three major things that we're looking at are pedagogy, pacing, and then the use of the isolation principle. So exactly what are these things and how they tie in together? Well, pedagogy, that's just kind of teaching. How does the game teach you? If there's a new mechanic introduced, what gameplay loops are you put through that help you understand the use cases and the consequences of this new mechanic? How does it affect the gameplay? The next step is pacing. So that's the relative speed at which this pedagogy or teaching takes place at. So this is important for making sure that we're not overwhelming the player instantly right as they learn a new mechanic. Then lastly is the isolation principle, which is teaching these ideas, these new gameplay elements in closed environments. So part of it is making like a new scene, I guess you could say, in a way that lets the player experiment with only this new mechanic. But it could also just be in a sense that there's no danger involved. The player isn't punished for messing around and trying to figure out what's happening. So I made a quick little Mega Man level to demo these three kinds of things. Let's just hop right in and see what kinds of things we can learn. So this level is kind of under the assumption that you've never really played a Mega Man level before, and we're going to start from square one with the basics and such. So alright, so we're going to load in, and we notice right away that you're in this open area. You can just learn to move a little bit, and then you come up to this wall. So this wall here has the intention of teaching the player that they're able to jump. So go ahead and jump, and then again, so we're slowly pacing the player forward. They see this pit, it's pretty intuitive that you kind of want to jump over it. And just like that, we've taught the player in a closed, isolated environment how to move and jump. So this next area, I'm going to be introducing two mechanics at the same time, which seems kind of like it's breaking the isolation principle. But I think in this case it makes sense, because if you just teach the player how to use a ladder like this on its own, it would feel kind of weird, and it might almost seem offensive to a player. They may think you're kind of undermining their intelligence, that they know what a ladder is and how you could use a ladder. But in any case, they grab this key, and then they open this door, and now they know what ladders are, and they know what a key door is. So again, continuing forward, now we introduce two new things. So first of all is enemies, and these enemies are placed in a specific way, and they use specific mechanics such that the players are not harmed instantly. You can really just sit here and look at these creatures and figure out what they do. So they shoot on a fixed timer. I can obviously step down here, and then I can avoid their shots, and then teach the player how to shoot. I also teach the player that there are threats in the game, and once we grab the key, we can move on to the next step. So now that we've done that, we've kind of incorporated these elements of moving, jumping, shooting, climbing ladders. Let's slowly increase the pace and teach the player a few things. So first of all, we are going to be teaching a new mechanic here, and that's just being able to jump and shoot. So this enemy right here is kind of blocking the way. I can't really get past him, so my only way is going to be to shoot him. Okay, so now that we got that, I can jump forward again. Now we're just trying to combine things. We have both moving, jumping, and shooting. And then again, here we see a key door, but there's no way down. We don't have a key, so our only way is forward. Here we have a new enemy being shown. This just flies and shoots at you. We can't get up to it and shoot it, so it's mostly there just to be a nuisance, and teach the player that there can be obstacles that you can't directly eliminate. So again, increasing intensity slightly. We have more enemies. We're adding more jumps and threats. But we're not overwhelming the player. We're not just throwing 50 enemies on the screen and blasting them with like unplayable games. So the big thing to take away from this is really a good game that has good pacing and good gameplay teaching moments is one that teaches you a mechanic, or teaches you several mechanics rather, and then finds a way to interlace those together and uses different kind of patterns to throw different challenges your way. So I've been using the same kind of pattern now where it's just running, jumping, and shooting, but I'm stacking enemies in different orders. I'm moving the geometry of the level around, and it creates different and new challenges. So our only way down, or only way forward is down this ladder, and we're just back to where we were earlier. So now the player has a key. Now the player has a key, they can go down this ladder that they couldn't before. So over here we see this thing. This just gives us full health, and then we get the checkpoint. And now our only way, again, is to the left. So below us we can see some kinds of things, but that's going to be used for later. And over here we actually have our first mini-boss. So the mini-boss I chose is really basic, and the idea is that this mini-boss uses only kinds of attacks that you've already learned how to deal with. So this boss is really just running, jumping, shooting, and then dodging attacks. It's not a particularly hard boss fight, but it's to really just incorporate the fact that the player will be culminating their efforts against a boss-like creature with the mechanics that they've learned. So here we get full health and energy, and then we also get this new power-up. So this power-up is this little laser beam, and now we have a new mechanic. So how do we go about teaching that? Well, our only way out of this room is through this door, and now we get a checkpoint, we get a key, and now we actually don't have a way forward. If I were to jump here, I can't make that. I don't have the distance to close that. So the only way to move forward is to teach the player how to use their new power-up. So you see this bright yellow peg against the wall, and I actually chose this color because the contrast is really nice against the background here. You'll always be able to spot those out. And the second you know what one is, you'll know what all of them are. So it's very similar to the Legend of Zelda in the sense that once you shoot, or once you defeat a mini-boss, you get a new item, and the only way to get out of that mini-boss's lair is to learn how to use this new item. So what you actually do, and if you experiment around with it enough, you might find that if you just shoot this peg, you actually do like a little grappling, swinging animation. And then you can get past that. Now I can go to this door, and now again, a checkpoint, and then I'm also going to start teaching the player new stuff. So now I'm combining the enemies from before with ladders, and now we have this new grappling. So here, again, I kind of broke the isolation principle. This is a little fan, but this feels warranted because, again, it's a pretty intuitive thing. It pushes you up in the air. There's now nothing really that warrants a full room or sequence dedicated to just how a fan works. It would feel kind of insulting or feel out of place and odd if the player didn't pick up that you were just trying to teach them what a fan is. So teaching a new mechanic, again, not necessarily isolated, but these are pretty intuitive. It's just a flame, a pillar. But now we start layering things together. So now we have fans and these. And then we also have enemies shooting at us. So we're slowly increasing the pace. We're not insulting the player or making the player feel like they can't do anything, but slowly stacking things in different patterns, teaching the player that they need to be able to think on the fly and find solutions themselves. So this next section here is designed to teach another element of the grappling mechanic to the player. So if I go and I try to swing on this, I just land on this platform, and it's pretty obvious that if I try to make this jump, I'm not going to make it. We also see that grapple up there, but I can't actually reach that. So this platform here is designed so that the players as many tries as they want to try to figure out what to do. But the real solution is that they can actually chain their swings together. So there's no unfair death from just not knowing that you could have done that. And you can climb back up the ladder and try again. So now we're on like the third floor, I guess, or the third scene. And then this is, now you have all the tools that are required to beat the level. And now we're just going to be chaining them together in different patterns, in different ways, so that the player can really have an experience and feel like they have achieved something with all this that they've learned. So start, we just have multiple grapple swings in a row. Now we have enemies, we also have spikes. Swing into a fan. Shoot an enemy. Swing off a fan into multiple grapple swings. Swing off that into a fan onto multiple fire platforms. So we're really just grabbing really just grabbing elements from the level and then just shoving them into different, new, exciting ways that look cool and feel good to navigate. Now, grappling over fire. Got some basic platforming here on the timer. Shooting enemies, jumping over fans. Really, we're just incorporating the different gameplay elements over and over. And then the last little jump here, swing onto a ladder. Another important thing to note is that placing enemies is really important. You probably don't want too many enemies that are just ready to shoot you right as you enter a new scene. The reaction timing isn't always fair, but okay. Now that we have this checkpoint, we can enter the final boss. So the final boss, again, is really just a culmination of all the different things you've learned so far. So now we have the simple basic movement pattern. So it's a similar boss in the sense that he kind of just shoots different like lightning bolts at you, and you can just dodge these. But we also have this little gameplay thing. So I added a little fan, and then there's also health pieces up at the top here. You can't normally reach the one on the right with the fan, but if I take the fan up, and then I swing across like this, it creates a cool and kind of fun way to restore your health. It's not just laying on the ground like that. And then as one last little teaching moment, the Thunderclaw, which is this grappling hook thing, it's also a weapon, and it's powerful against the boss. So the player might find that just by testing out different things. And yeah, so that's just the basic level, going over 3 really important gameplay elements. So thank you for watching, and for any designers, I hope you take these kind of things into account. Thank you.